You are watching Xpoze24 Plus365. Today we will talk about P&G. So let's see the report.
The Procter & Gamble Company P&G is an American multinational consumer goods corporation headquartered in downtown Cincinnati, Ohio, founded in 1837 by English-American William Procter and Irish-American James Gamble. Candle maker William Procter, born in England, and soap maker James Gamble, born in Ireland, both emigrated from the United Kingdom. They settled in Cincinnati initially and met when they married sisters Olivia and Elizabeth Norris. Alexander Norris, their father-in-law, called a meeting in which he persuaded his new sons-in-law to become business partners. On October 31, 1837, as a result of the suggestion, Procter & Gamble was created. It specializes in a wide range of personal health, consumer health, and personal care and hygiene products. These products are organized into several segments, including beauty, grooming, health care, fabric and home care, and baby, feminine and family care. Before the sale of Pringles to the Kellogg Company, its product portfolio also included foods, snacks and beverages. In 1858 to 1859, sales reached $1 million. By that point, about 80 employees worked for Procter & Gamble. During the American Civil War, the company won contracts to supply the Union Army with soap and candles. In addition to the increased profits experienced during the war, the military contracts introduced soldiers from all over the country to Procter & Gamble's products. In the 1880s, Procter & Gamble began to market a new product, an inexpensive soap that floats in water. The company called the soap Ivory. William Arnett Procter, William Procter's grandson, began a profit-sharing program for the company's workforce in 1887. By giving the workers a stake in the company, he correctly assumed that they would be less likely to go on strike. The company began to build factories in other locations in the United States because the demand for products had outgrown the capacity of the Cincinnati facilities. The company's leaders began to diversify its products as well, and in 1911 began producing Crisco, a shortening made of vegetable oils rather than animal fats. As radio became more popular, in the 1920s and 1930s, the company sponsored a number of radio programs. As a result, these shows often became commonly known as soap.
The concept of a growth factory is a need that is actually very broad-based. The ability to replicate and build a growth factory, whether you are two women in a garage, whether you're a large company, or even whether you're a country, is critically important to the future. When we say innovation is our lifeblood, it is what we live and breathe. And that shows in a long 175-year history.
A lot of the businesses that P&G is in today, that we were the creator of the category. We were the first ones to launch a commercial disposable diaper. We developed a toothpaste that contained fluoride. We invented the first synthetic laundry detergent. Unfortunately, in the year 2000, we lost our way from an innovation standpoint.
We ran into these bumps in 2000 where our growth stalled, and we, for a time, lost focus.
We had to deliver close to $2.5 billion in incremental sales. Think of that as creating another brand almost the size of Tide each and every year. An internal analysis indicated that only 15% of our projects were meeting their intended growth goals. Another way of saying it is 85% of them were failing.
There were a number of folks inside P&G who were reading and exploring the thoughts that Clay Christensen was laying out in The Innovator's Dilemma. There is always a threat of disruption, and anyone who thinks that there is not may not be around in another decade. It's sobering when you look back at Fortune 100 statistics. I think P&G turned to Innosight because they brought a science to disruptive market innovation that we needed to systematize and to spread across our company. When you're building a growth factory, you have to start with the raw materials, and really that consists of people and ideas. As we started to reach externally, we kicked off our Connect and Develop effort, which really was simply saying that there were a lot more ideas outside of P&G's walls than inside. It results in different assembly lines. Part of improving our innovation success rate is getting clear on the different categories of innovation as we think about sustaining innovation, as we think about disruptive innovation, as we think about transformative innovation and commercial innovation. These are all categories that now across P&G we can talk with one language about what is needed in any given situation.
We had this fascinating, idea about the role that probiotics could play, for a product that ultimately became a line, and what that could do to improve digestive health and digestive comfort. We placed a small bet. We started to ship some of this product to market. That was probably one of the smartest things we did in terms of rapidly progressing the Align product.
We realized as part of our growth factory efforts that Tide could be much more than the product it was. One of the accelerators on this learning process is Innocight's Jobs to be Done framework. You can't simply talk with consumers and ask them for things that they've never conceived of before. You must spend time with them. You must observe their behavior. We found that the dry cleaning arena was one where there was a great deal of dissatisfaction.
We said, we don't know. It's a very good idea. Let's open 1 or 2 dry cleaners and we'll learn.
The experience of Tide dry cleaners, consumers tell us, is like none other. Tide has transformed that experience. We as a company strive to move from serving over 4 billion consumers to 5 billion consumers. A small company in rural Northwest India was doing water purification and telemedicine to consumers that were making $2 a day. And it was exactly on point with what we were looking to do in reaching more consumers, and that allowed us to grow this business and touch tens of thousands of lives. The results do speak for themselves. We have dramatically improved our innovation success rate, moving from what was around 15% to over 50%. And we have really seen that the growth factory is one that can be replicated and sustained.
If you look at the period of 2000 to 2010, even in the years after, we have delivered our growth goals.
But it's much more than the numbers. There is a confidence inside P&G that the approach that we've taken, the systematic approach enabled by Innosight, can continue to drive our growth factory and help us meet our goals for many years to come.
The company moved into other countries both in terms of manufacturing and product sales, becoming an international corporation with its 1930 acquisition of the Thomas Headley Company based in Newcastle upon Tyne, England. After this acquisition, Procter & Gamble had their UK headquarters at Headley House in Newcastle upon Tyne until quite recently. Numerous new products and brand names were introduced over time, and Procter & Gamble began branching out into new areas. The company introduced Tide laundry detergent in 1946 and Pril shampoo in 1947. In 1955, Procter & Gamble began selling the first toothpaste to contain fluoride known as Crest. Branching out once again in 1957, the company purchased Charmin paper mills and began manufacturing toilet paper and other tissue paper products. In November 2015, P&G was named the Careers in Africa Employer of Choice 2015 following a survey of over 13,000 African professionals from across the globe. P&G was also recognized as the most desirable FMCG business to work for in Africa. In 2016 and 2017, P&G was recognized as one of Forbes' world's most reputable companies. In 2018, P&G Fabric and Home Care division accounted for 32% of the company's total net sales, the highest of all its divisions. The division includes Downy Gain-Tide, Febreze and Dawn child labor and forced labor, according to a 2016 report by Amnesty International. Palm oil provider Wilmar International, the world's biggest palm oil grower in 2016 and supplier of raw materials to Procter Gamble, profited from 8 to 14-year-old child labor and forced labor. Some workers were extorted, threatened or not paid for work. Some workers also suffered severe injuries from toxic banned chemicals. On June 30, 1999, Procter & Gamble announced that it would limit its animal testing practices to its food and drug products, which represented less than 20% of its product portfolio. The company invested more than $275 million in the development of alternative testing methods. Procter & Gamble has received criticism from animal advocacy group PETA for the practice of testing on animals. In January 2019, CEO David Taylor said in Switzerland, "The world would be a better place if my board of directors on down is represented by 50% of the women. We sell our products to more than 50% of the women." The Wall Street Journal noted the company's board of directors has more than twice as many men as it does women.
For more, keep watching Xpoze24 Plus 365.